white privilege album. Man, say it twice, the white privilege album. Author is AJ Rice. Man, I'm off the hook, cause the novel is an album and the album is a book. This is the white privilege album. Man, say it twice, the white privilege album. Author is AJ Rice. Man, I'm off the hook, cause the novel is an album and the album is a book. Man, I'm watching as the world go crazy. Boys used to age to men, and girls used to grow to ladies. But now up to needs is a thought, I mean it, it's a lot. And guys gotta hop on step stools just to eat its food. Back on the main topic of white privilege, there's definitely some extent to it, but what type is this? It's getting nuts from classrooms to trash rooms. Full grown men with kids in school up in my niece's bathroom. Yeah, we pale as ghosts. I don't mean to brag and boast. Ask the people social media, tag and post. When the top few percent ain't broke as me. Kamala Harris used to lock people up just for smoking weed. Trump old AF, he got privilege as a resident. No matter what, the next few years will be our president. Imagine 20 years what these girls gon' be. Gas prices went down, somebody start World War III. You need to cop the book, cause if you see him wait, our next president will do more than just fall asleep in a debate. Pride pee himself and faint just cause of the topic. Calm down, it's a book, no need to rage or form a mosh pit. Just cop the white privilege album. Breathe deep, relax and calm down, son. Why everyone but hurt, everything's so serious. Cause AJ said it don't exist like the pregnant chicks, period. Period, exclamation, my ex is hating. Cause ball's better than Xanax, finish this with exclamations. Last thing left before I drown you with the hook. AJ Rice twice as nice, he made an album and a book. This is the white privilege album. Say it twice, the white privilege album. Author is AJ Rice. Man, I'm off the hook, cause the novel is an album and the album is a book. This is the white privilege album. Say it twice, the white privilege album. Author is AJ Rice. Man, I'm off the hook, cause the novel is an album and the album is a book.
Hey, welcome in once again to Strictly Speaking. Did you know that white privilege gave us Western civilization, and it gave us the middle class, and it gave us the nuclear family? You're very welcome. Now, those aren't my words. Those are the words of today's guest. He's an author, and he is, according to himself, the undisputed GOAT of conservative public relations in America. His latest book is called The White Privilege Album, and it is dedicated to all the very fine people on all sides that made it happen. This is going to be an awful lot of fun as we welcome AJ Rice right here to Strictly Speaking. AJ, you big bag of garbage, you. How are you, sir?
Right, that's right. Great to be here. Big Irish Catholic bag of garbage. There is that, right? We're the only people you can. We're the only people you can constantly dunk on, and we never have a problem with it. The Irish.
That is very true. That is true. You guys never got pissed off about Notre Dame, and the little leprechaun is always ready for the fight.
Boston Celtics. That's right. Boston Celtics, Lucky Charms, Notre Dame, all three of them.
Oh, I forgot about Lucky Charms, actually. That's good stuff. So we're going to talk about a whole lot of things today, but I want people to know who you are. You're the president and CEO of Publius PR, editor-in-chief of the Publius National Post, and the author of the #1 Amazon bestsellers, The Woking Dead and The White Privilege Album. We're going to focus on White Privilege because it's the newest, but we might touch on the other one as well. But I guarantee you there are a lot of people listening to us right now and saying, what's this Publius emphasis on that? They don't know who/what Publius is. Tell us.
Sure. So, it is a PR firm. It's more of a media company now than just a PR firm. I have owned it for 20 years. So I was a puppy, really, 24 years old when I started this company. And it's done different things over the years, and it's changed some directions. I started out really as a producer of shows, radio shows. Nationally syndicated radio shows.
Let me interrupt you for a second. I'm going to sound like an ass here when I do this. I apologize, but I meant the name Publius, how it was chosen. Most people don't know what the origin of it. Then tell me about the company.
Sure. So it's a Latin term that I abducted from the three gentlemen that wrote the Federalist Papers. So John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison, when they were sort of dropping anonymously with a nom de plume into pamphlets throughout the 13 colonies, as they were trying to make the case for, basically a constitution to replace the Articles of Confederation. They were writing under this name. Now, I took it from them. Where did they take it from? They took it from who was probably Cicero's mentor in the ancient Roman Republic, a very famous Roman Republic senator and thinker. So they obviously respected him and the times. They were creating a republic for us. So I took it from them. And I got to be honest with you, the fact that the company's based in Virginia, I was shocked that it was available, because as the crow flies, I'm only about 30 miles from James Madison's house right now. So I'm I'm glad that it was. The other two guys are from New York, Jay and Hamilton. It's funny when you look at the ages of these guys when they were writing this stuff. Unbelievable, right? Where we the way we talk about how young people can't even tie their shoes today. These guys were all like 27, 25, and 22. I mean, it's an amazing thing. And they were brilliant. Thank God we had them. The founding generation is something that should be preserved and revered without a doubt. And that is some of what my book's about, because, and Madison makes a pretty big appearance in there too. There are forces in the world, globalist and wokeist forces, sort of dual Gemini of evil there, wokeism and globalism, that want to see Western civilization go away. And, one of the peaks of Western civilization in the United States of America, not all civilizations are created equal. Not all countries are either. Not in the grand scheme of planet Earth. Citizens in the United States are, for sure. But this is the reason civilizations go away. They don't always last, right? So you need to preserve it. And I'll tell you, the funny thing about that is that, when you look at the way democracy has sort of progressed here in the United States, it has been under assault even through its worst times. So whether it was, expansion westward, Texas left Mexico, became its own country, then it joined the United States, and then it seceded from the Union in the Civil War. I mean, it's been all over the place. And then it came back. And some days it wants to leave again. So, we are a remarkable people. Vermont, Maine snapped off of Massachusetts, Vermont snapped off of New York, Kentucky and West Virginia snapped off of Virginia. And I just think a lot of people that get involved in the culture war in 2024 don't really know how we got here. They do not. The left wants to talk about how the arc of justice or arc of progress bends toward justice. I think the arc of progress bends away from wokeism. But, what they don't take into consideration is the number of people in Western civilization's history that have, sacrificed blood, treasure, reputation to make this one of the greatest experiments in the history of any civilization ever. So with the book, with the White Privilege album, I'm having some fun. It's a comedy, but there's a little bit of, serious stuff in there. But what I'm doing is I'm abducting the language back from them. I'm kidnapping it. And I'm weaponizing it, and I'm using it back against them, because they, when you talk about wokeism in particular, it's a variation of cultural Marxism, and it's not new. It's not new, and it's been around for some time. And we fight it all over the place. We fight it inside, the academy. We fight it in the media. We got big tech problems. We've got Hollywood problems, but none of it's new. And when somebody's patient, when your enemy is patient and they're willing to do the long march, the job there is to sort of, get inside of the levers of our culture, like termites, like tapeworm, and be patient, and to sort of flip us towards totalitarianism in a cultural way. Mainly because, it dawned on Marxism and the Marxists in the United States 100 years ago that they weren't going to, hang the capitalists with the rope they manufactured. So they needed another way to get us. What better way than the culture? Which is why Antonio Gramsci, who is sort of the father of cultural Marxism, is actually the big daddy that we're dealing with. Yeah, Marx, I mean, he was inspired by Marx and Engels, and Lenin loved them both, but what he basically said, Gramsci, was that in the West, if you have a strong middle class, you're not going to get a peasant revolt. You're not going to get, the serfs rising up, decapitating the king and queen. You're not going to get that. So you got to get them another way. And that if the culture is the superpower, the culture is the hegemony of a specific civilization, then you have to get in there. Which is why, Bob, we've got 72 genders now. It's why Tim and Jim are in the women's locker room, right? It's why people are jumping on stage trying to stab Dave Chappelle. Why, certain comedians get canceled. That is the foot soldiers doing the bidding that is, look, been going on 100 years. It's not new.
That's a lot of material to follow up on, but just since you did it at the end there and they're talking about comedians getting canceled, it was only a couple of days ago that we saw I don't even know the guy's name anymore. Tony Hinchcliffe or something like that, who I don't know how he got the gig, to speak, at the Madison Square Garden Nazi rally that Trump threw, according to the would-be vice president and the former Secretary of State and candidate Hillary Clinton and virtually every leftist member of the media. But I don't know how this guy got up there with some of the legendary and monumental figures in conservatism and in the Trump supportive movement. But this guy comes up there and does his, hey, there's a floating pile of garbage in the middle of the ocean there. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Sure.
I didn't find it particularly funny, but I found it extraordinary that people are so flipped out over this. Oh my God, that is a clear indication that Donald Trump and every one of his supporters hate Hispanics and hate Latinos and Latinas. That's what I got from this. Not only should this guy be canceled, but anybody that had anything to do with him should be canceled. That's part of wokeism, isn't it?
It is. It is. Someone once said that when the comedians are scared, true totalitarianism has arrived. So comedians' jobs, whether it's ones today or ones from the past, is to really be the first version of history. Okay, the first version of history. People have defined comedy as tragedy plus time, or even horror, plus humor equals comedy. I remember after 9/11, David Letterman, who, kind of became a left-wing guy, anti-Bush guy, anti-Trump guy, he kind of acted as a sort of communal meeting house after September 11th attacks, almost like he gave permission for the country to smile again, to laugh again because of the horror we went through in those days. Now, when comedians are afraid, the state has won, because I don't care whether you're a comedian, whether you're a rock star, heavy metal, gangster rap, whether you're Metallica or Chuck D, doesn't matter who it is. Hollywood people, even journalists like Daniel Ellsberg and some of these guys that the original Woodward and Bernstein, story, their job was to not protect the powerful. Their job was to basically blow the whistle on the powerful. But a lot of these people have become company men. Some comedians have, like Seth Rogen, and I give you some people, Will Ferrell, who's now apologizing for dressing up like Janet Reno on Saturday Night Live 20 years ago.
Unbelievable.
But the reality here,
Jerry Seinfeld actually, made some statements about what the left is doing to comedy, and then 2 months later, after enough grief, I guess he retracted everything. I was very disappointed in that. Yeah.
Shame. So, but you have these celebrities, people that are supposed to be checking power. They're wrapping their arms around bombs in Ukraine. They're wrapping their arms around the pharmaceutical companies. They're wrapping their arms around the Pentagon. And it's an amazing thing because, and we saw some of this during COVID, where the shaming and the shunning was taking place, other than like Van Morrison and maybe Eric Clapton, a lot of these rock and roll people, they basically threw in with with Fauci and with the mandates and things like that. I mean, Rage Against the Machine, whose very purpose is to rage against the machine, is to not throw in with the company, to not throw in with the G-men. And they did. You can't go to a Rage Against the Machine concert if you're not vaccinated. So that's what we're up against.
Howard Stern, who was raging against the machine, if you will, for decades. The anarchist. There are no rules. I can do what do whatever you want. And he is now just the foot soldier of the machine. Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely, and that saddens me. Howard and I have the same birthday. It's actually the same birthday. Me, Rush Limbaugh, and Howard Stern all have the same birthday. And I grew up with.
Well, to triumvirate.
Yeah, I grew up with both of them. I like to think that the way I write is vintage Stern mixed with pretty much every version of Rush. But Rush used to say his job was to use irreverent humor to illustrate truth, use absurdity to illustrate truth, to not throw in with the powers that be. That's what Howard was. He was Joey Ramone. He was the Sex Pistols. He was punk rock. That's what Howard was. Getting fired from NBC, getting into fights with Imus, because he called Imus a company man. He said that Imus had thrown in, and that Howard was the truer version of talk radio, of shock jock radio. But now, Howard's had 57 boosters, and he's hanging out in the basement on Long Island when he's not going to the Diddy White parties. He's playing mahjong with Billy Joel, just hiding, taking pop shots at Trump. Trump was his friend. And I mean, my first interactions with Donald Trump as a Philly guy, and I'm going back and forth between the Jersey Shore, so Atlantic City's right there. The casinos are there, right? Trump, Taj Mahal, and so on. I had summer jobs working construction. They had Howard on in the morning for 4 or 5 hours. And, Trump was in there all the time, which I find fascinating and just sort of, and Bob, I'd like your take on this as a media guy that's been broadcasting a long time. You got different types of shows. That's why it has been so sort of heartwarming to watch Trump in these last couple months make the rounds with the bros, because even though Howard has lost his mind and his audience is just, I guess, virtue signaling leftists now, his audience is still out there. And they're listening to Adam Carolla. They're listening to Joe Rogan. They're listening to Theo Vaughn. They're listening to Andrew Schultz. They're listening to a lot of podcasts, Anthony Cumia, podcasts that, haven't thrown in with the company men. And that's funny because Trump has been making the rounds on these shows, and because that's where the audience is. That's, the audience isn't sitting down with the Wall Street Journal editorial page or the New York Times editorial page. No, the audience is 3 hours with Rogan, 2 hours with Theo Vaughn. So it was interesting to see Trump back in that mode a little bit, because that's how I met Donald Trump. Long before The Apprentice, when he was just, the playboy of the Western world, and he was doing booba lantern contests on Halloween with Howard, right? That's where I met him, and it was interesting to see him back in that element. And dare I say, I think bringing people into his political fold, because there's a lot of undecided people out there that do listen to different alternative media. And that's why even Axios, I saw the other day, which is this sort of, Beltway, nose in the air website. They even declared that the mainstream media is broken, that they have lost it here. Because even Kamala's running around doing some wacky podcasts, right? Talking about menstrual cycles and abortion, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a problem with women. She wants to drive men away. And I guess I heard that there was going to be a Rogan interview, but they wanted to control it. Rogan's like, look, that's not what this.
Well, she didn't want anything to do with it. I mean,
Right.
that was a way for her to decline it without saying, no, I decline, and making her look like she's afraid of it. It's like, oh my God, the campaign is so busy. You'll have to come to me where I am, and I'll give you an hour, but that's really all I can spare. Knowing that Rogan would never do that. And it's like, well, it's unfortunate we can't do it then because they can't. So she wanted to say no. What I love about what you said too, and what I really appreciate about Trump, when he was in his 30s and 40s, like you were talking about, he was, like you said, the ultimate multi-billionaire, Western playboy. And he was best friends with not only Stern, but, Oprah, the Clintons. I mean, literally every left-wing Democrat in the media and in the political realm and the music realm loved him, absolutely loved him. They were his best friends, and it was only when he decided he's going to run for, and they begged him to run for president since the 90s, early 90s. They begged him to run, and he finally decides to run, but it's as a Republican. That's when they turned on him, and suddenly all of the goodwill that they had, went out the window, which shows one thing to me, and that is they have no deeply held beliefs. They have no core. They have no actual center. Everything is superficial, and it's very easy to change that. It's very easy to when you don't have any core principles. So what Trump has done is exposed that from Howard and from everybody else that you just mentioned.
Sure.
And to your point about Kamala, well, actually about both of them, Trump will sit with Theo and he'll sit with Rogan, and I guess JD Vance is about to go sit with Rogan next, which is very kind of cool. He's going to fill in for Kamala. But then he also did the Bloomberg interview, the Bloomberg business event in Chicago. So he can do all of those because he actually is willing to talk about what his plans are. Why is Kamala Harris hiding from all of these things? It's not like she's afraid to talk. It's just that she literally has nothing to say. There is no substance to her plans whatsoever. And when she is asked difficult questions about them or specifics, she doesn't want silence. So she fills it with the word salads. Trump is comfortable in the bro podcast room and in the middle of a board meeting with the, as you say, the editorial board or the business board or what have you. And that's the difference in this.
And look, he thoroughly enjoys it. You can see it.
Oh yeah.
He is quick on his feet. He'll talk to anyone. And it wasn't even the golden escalator ride and the speech. Some people got horrified by that. He was getting friendly fire from the right when he announced. He had Bobby Jindal and Rand Paul and Lindsey Graham shooting at Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio. They were everyone really except for Ted Cruz there at the beginning was shooting at Trump. And I mean, even Joe and Mika, Morning Joe, I mean, Trump was doing a bunch of CNN and MSNBC in 2016. It was only when it dawned on the media, oh my God, he's not just doing this to promote The Apprentice. He's not just, and he's winning, and he starts winning primaries. And there was 18 Republicans that he KO'd. I mean, he just went down the line collecting scalps from all these guys. And that's when they turned, oh my God, this is for real. He's winning and he's dunking on Hillary. And then the rallies and everything. That's when the Joe and Mikas and the windbags on The View and that's when they all turned.
They all loved him too. I forgot about them. They were all part of his his friend circle.
They all turned. So, it's funny. Some people have started to come back though. There's a rationale that has happened here, because we're entering the third act. We're inside the third act here of the play. And especially in the African American world, some of the rappers, UFC fighters, WWE people, athletes, they're slowly becoming not afraid to put on the MAGA hat, to say whatever the heck they do, and I think that's good. And I think Trump, look, the Republican Party, since Reagan left, has been in a goofy spiral towards wearing Argyle sweaters at the Chamber of Commerce and only giving a crap about things like that. That, yes, 9/11 helped George W. Bush get reelected against John Kerry, but the Republican Party has slowly sort of lost touch with, definitely blue collar people, the working class, and we couldn't continue this way. I mean, regular folks out there have nothing in common with John Boehner or Mitch McConnell, Foghorn Leghorn, or Paul Ryan, or the heroes that were captured or the heroes that weren't captured, the McCain family, Mitt Romney and the magical underwear and the linguine spine and the green tea. Obama really lucked out by the fact that he ran against two glass jaws. But we couldn't continue. And the Republican Party had an infection, a boring, goofy infection where, we were just radical free traders. We got our little tax cuts. NAFTA's wonderful, open borders, Jeff Flake's America, John McCain's America, right? I mean, look at the conversions Lindsey Graham has gone through in order to not be irrelevant anymore. And, that's the thing, is that Trump is kind of like, white blood cells flying towards an infection. And America has a unique ability to conjure up these politicians when we need them. Let me give an example. When Andrew Jackson showed up, it had been 24 years of Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe. One party rule. John Quincy Adams got elected through a deal that got cut with Henry Clay and some other people to keep Jackson away from the presidency. Okay? So there was 4 years of that. Sound familiar? The deal that got cut? So then Jackson comes back with a vengeance. And who does Jackson represent? He basically says that his party has gotten long in the tooth, too much power, they care too much about elitism, too much Virginia, too much New York City, too much Philadelphia, too much Charleston, and the party needs to return to its roots, to the people. And that's what Jefferson was. And, people documented this. He opened up the White House. He had like horses running through the White House. It was crazy. But he was a populist. He was really the first antibodies that showed up to make sure we didn't become too fat and happy here and act like that this was primogeniture, that, this was just going to continue forever. And so Jackson was that guy. The Republican Party's formation, John Fremont and Abraham Lincoln were the first two nominees of the Republican Party. Lincoln was one of these guys, too, that came at this moment, abolitionist moment. Teddy Roosevelt was another one. John F. Kennedy was one. Harry Truman, dare I say, was kind of a populist type guy that wasn't just going to do whatever the hell the FDR people said. So Trump is one of these guys. Reagan is one of these guys. I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me. That's what Reagan used to say, right? Trump was a Democrat.
Yep.
So if you look at this world we're in now, Bob, where, I can't believe I'm saying this, where in one battleship over here, we've got Elon Musk, who's been red-pilled. We got Tulsi, who's moved from Democrat to independent to Republican. We have the oldest male Kennedy heir who has left the Democrat Party and has endorsed Trump. That's who, who do you want to roll with, ladies and gentlemen? That's who's in our battleship. And who do they have? If Trump was George Steinbrenner, if Trump was a general manager of a baseball team, and or if we were just trading baseball cards, and you were trying to trade, I could trade Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, and in return, I could get RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. I will do that trade all day long. It's like the Yankees fleecing the Oakland A's, right? That's what that is. It's like the Globetrotters playing the Washington Generals there. Right? We're fleecing them. I'll do that trade all day long. And who is Kamala standing there with? All this talk, conspiracy theories. Bob Frantz, Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, they're all conspiracy theorists by saying that there's a uniparty, that, it's controlled opposition. No, it's not. No, it's not. What are you talking about? And yet, Kamala Harris goes on television during a debate and says, I'm standing here, the proud owner of an endorsement from Dick Cheney. Like, are you kidding? Are you freaking kidding me? So, and then Kamala waves around the paper, I've got all these Romney and McCain and Bush and a few backbenchers from Reagan administration, and they've all endorsed me. My God, you just proved our point. You just proved RFK Jr.'s point. You proved some of DeSantis's points. I mean, that's where we are. You know, and it was only a matter of time. So here you got Trump has made the Republican Party more multi-ethnic, more working class. We got RFK Jr. people, some disaffected Bernie people. We got Ron Paul people. And I might break some news here. The Libertarian Party of the United States, who's, you know, we can always count on for a good laugh, has actually been contacted, my sources have told me, and invited for the first time ever by any party to make recommendations by the Trump transition team for possible government appointments.
Really?
They have never had a seat at the table. They were just worried about being gay and smoking weed, and, you know, they have been contacted. They have been contacted. So look, this is the majority. Look, Bob. So last week, Kamala Harris has this big rally in Washington, D.C. This is the only place in the country she can draw a crowd like that.
Without Beyonce or somebody with her.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, but who are we talking about here? Swamp people, 70,000 members of the deep state. Go out there, the vote myself a raise people. The Vindmans. There's a million Vindmans out there. They're standing out there. Fiona Hill, all these little termites, all these little Venetian blinds, little government autocrats, right? All of them listening in on the perfect phone call, spreading the lies about the very fine people and the losers and suckers and the rest of the garbage that they put out there. So she can draw a crowd. She can't draw a crowd in Michigan. She can't draw a crowd in Altoona, Pennsylvania. She can't draw a crowd in freaking, you know, Athens, Georgia. She can draw a crowd in Washington, D.C. Swamp people, a deep state crowd. Well, congratulations again. You just proved our point again. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Trump is drawing 100,000 people in blue New Jersey, drawing, 20,000 inside MSG and 200,000 outside MSG in blue Manhattan. He draws crowds in blue Colorado. He draws crowds in blue Philadelphia. And it's everywhere he goes. It's the exact same thing. I want to explore something with you, AJ. What you said, this country has a unique ability to find the right person at the right time, just when it seems like, we don't know exactly, we're a little bit rudderless and we need that right person. And you named some historically. What are we looking for the next time? Let's suppose both scenarios. Let's Trump wins, but he only gets 4. Now, if you listen to the left, he's never leaving. He's authoritarian. He's going to mobilize the military to make sure he never leaves. But let's say Trump wins, and then the baton gets passed where? And then worst case, Kamala wins, or they engineer a win. We're already watching what's happening in Bucks, Pennsylvania. Bucks County, Pennsylvania, there's all kinds of, shenanigans going on already. But let's say, however it happens, Kamala wins. How do we find the next person? Do we just wait for 4 more years of complete destruction and chaos like we've had under Biden, but maybe worse, and then rebound from that in 2028, because she'll have obviously an opportunity at 8 years. What happens in 2028 in either scenario in your mind?
So I'm glad you asked this. Trump has become a counterculture icon. One of the reasons you had 4 phony indictments and 2 phony impeachments and 2 assassins on the field is not just for Trump, the man, person that if he was going to declare martial law, he would have done it during COVID and stayed last time. He's not going to stay.
Exactly.
But the reason Reagan was hated the most is because for 30 years after Reagan left, there were people identifying themselves as Reagan Republicans. You had waves of Reagans. Newt Gingrich, Rush Limbaugh are 2 examples that the left had to deal with. We didn't know them yet. Not really. I mean, Newt was a congressman and Rush was a Kansas City Royals broadcaster at the time, and when Reagan leaves in 89. But what horrifies the left the most is this new movement. This blending of different types of populism into a new entity. They wanted a reset. Well, they got one. and it's not going away. We're not going back to the Mitt Romney linguini spine. We're not. Paul Ryan and sitting on the board and telling us that John Boehner and the rest of that's over. That's over. Ragnarok has come, and it's orange and has wiped that out. And I will tell you, that's why they're after him, because you're going to get waves of Trumps. It's already started. I don't care whether it's Vivek or DeSantis. It's already started. Now, you're always going to have these company people like Nikki Haley that care more about, what Booz Allen Hamilton and Boeing and Northrop Grumman are doing than, what John Fetterman sees, who's very astute and knows this. What he sees out there in, the blue countryside of coal mine areas of Pennsylvania, or the steel areas, or lumberjacks in the Mountain West, or these, dare I say, Hispanic counties along the Rio Grande, not exactly filled with Scandinavians, that are all voting for Trump. They made a huge mistake there. They imported a bunch of Catholic right-wingers escaping Marxist hellholes. Do you think that they're going to vote Democrat? They made a huge miscalculation because they brought in Latins that are going to vote Republican, not just the Cubans anymore, all of them. While simultaneously doing nothing for African Americans and kind of showing them, well, we're bringing in these brown people to replace you black people. I mean, it's insane. But they have miscalculated big time. So somewhere, Bob, talk about the future. Right now, as we sit here, there's some 19-year-old in, Lincoln, Nebraska, bussing tables, that's gone to 2 or 3 Trump rallies. He's buying books. He's about to declare a major, maybe at the University of Nebraska. Right now, he's just taking his gen ed courses. He listens to a lot of shows and podcasts, talk radio guy, watches Fox and Newsmax and War Room and whatever. And you're going to be dealing with him. You're going to hear from him for the next 30 years, that guy that's bussing tables. And that is what scares them the most. The waves. It's not just MTG and Kerry Lake and Matt Gaetz. It's people that are kids right now. And I'm a millennial. I'm a geriatric millennial. But you've got Gen Z behind me. And then you've got, Alpha. And Trump is the man of the era. We haven't had a man. He may never win again. And it's all the genie's out of the bottle. The genie is out of the bottle. It doesn't matter. Conversion complete. There is no going back. That's why, even people like DeSantis and Vivek, when they were running, look, full disclosure, we work with Vivek, we work with RFK Jr., we work with Tulsi at Publius PR. They're our clients. DeSantis, I know his team, we don't work with them. But Trump has left an indelible mark for all time. People are going to look at this moment, or even this last 50 years, and they're going to go from Reagan, and they're going to, do a little dance with, Barack Obama, first black guy, and then they're going to go to Trump. Barack Obama doesn't quite get that. His historic nature was the fact that he was a half-white guy from Hawaii or Kansas. I mean, Bob, I told you, I remember a time when the first black president was a chubby guy from Arkansas. Yeah. So, times have changed. They have changed. So yeah, he's going to be the man of the moment. We haven't had a character like this since Reagan that just it bleeds over into popular culture and look, we should have known better. I mean, this was Trump's bread and butter. I mean, it really was. So, but that's why they're after him, because there's going to be generations.
What if he loses, though, AJ? What if he loses? What if the man of the moment loses, and we can forget about baton passing and the next Trump and the next guy, the one reading and studying in Nebraska and so forth? What if he loses? What happens to MAGA if Donald Trump loses? Now, win or lose, I hear some scuttlebutt that Donald Jr. is gonna make a run. He's going to get involved in this, and the legacy thing is going to happen. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm really excited about 3 young names, 39-year-old Vivek, 40-year-old J.D. Vance, and 45-year-old Ron DeSantis. I love that idea for 2028. Sure. But again, Are they going to embrace MAGA and try to continue
100%.
that if the originator of MAGA goes down and we're coming up
100%.
against Kamala again in 2028?
I mean, look, Goldwater kind of handed the reins off to Reagan, who took them and handed them to Newt, which is why you had that Republican Revolution. And it was really the invention of talk radio that came out of that milieu. Rush and Sean and then all the people that, and that's not to say Bob Grant and Paul Harvey and these guys weren't around. They were around. But to be on hundreds of stations like that and basically save the AM dial, that has spread. Look, you're going to be dealing with the Trump family for a long time. You know, Barron is actually the guy, from what I've been told, that's, you know, hand selecting some of these podcasts to put Daddy on.
Yeah, I heard. I think Trump told Rogan that, in fact, that Barron is like all over it. He knows who the hot guys are in the business.
So Joe Kennedy Sr. used to say, you know, kind of like go forth and multiply, that having a gigantic loyal family, that strength in numbers is worth more than whatever, you know, because obviously not all your children are going to be Michael Jordan. You know, I mean, Joe Jr. died in a dogfight above Nazi Germany, and then Jack and Bobby were both shot, and then Ted, you know, Ted did what Ted did. Ted was the, you know, I guess at the shallow end of the gene pool there. But I will say, you know, driving off bridges. But I will say that with the Trump family, I saw Don Jr. joking about this on Newsmax the other day. He goes, my father loves immigrants. He married two of them, my mother and Melania. You know, he's just like cracking jokes like that. So look, you've actually got Trump children that are Gen Xers. Okay, you know, people born before 1980. You've got Trump children that are millennials, Gen Y, and you've got Trump children that are Gen Z. You've got, you know, we're talking 60 years of generational talent, and they're all now having children. I mean, Don's daughter's not 18, the oldest one. So, I mean, and they're way more disciplined, unfortunately for RFK Jr., you know, they're way more disciplined than the Kennedys have been. They are. There's a brand there. It's a disciplined brand, right? So long live the patriarchy, I guess. But there's a lot of talent. The Republican Party has a lot of talent. It's not just we have guys like Josh Hawley and Tom Cotton. You know, they're young.
I like those
Vance.
guys.
We've got governors. You know, so, and then we've got characters on the outside that may throw their, you know, looking at Trump's success, may throw their hat in the ring and run for something someday. I don't know. You know, I hear Tucker Carlson's name all the time that he might want to run for something. I mean, I think Tucker's having a blast. I don't think he wants to deal with that crap at all. I know him a little bit. You know, I don't think
what do you make of Tucker right now? He's a very enigmatic guy ever since he left Fox. You know, because one day he's at MSG just playing to the conservative crowd, and you know, a few weeks ago he was hosting some historian and talking about how Churchill was the real villain of World War II and Hitler did his best to avoid war. I'll never ever in a million years understand that, and I've been trying to understand Tucker Carlson a lot. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, you know, this was a guy that was against the Iraq War when he still had the bow tie on. He was one of the few people that were right.
Yeah.
RFK Jr. and Trump were both against the Iraq War, and people like Obama and John Kerry and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden were all for it. So, I mean, Tucker, I mean, he's always been intellectually curious. I think he has been hanging out with, you know, people that are looking at alternative histories. You know, everything that comes out of Alex Jones's mouth is not true, but he's right enough and close enough that, you know, I talk about this a lot, that the government and the deep state and some of the behavior, especially since Trump has shown up through COVID and George Floyd and, you know, Ukraine and some of this other stuff that's going on, trans science, the global warming nonsense, you know, you don't have to be right 100% of the time. You have to be right enough. And you've got grandmothers now listening to Alex Jones and watching War Room with Bannon and watching Russell Brand convert from atheist maniac to Catholicism, and they're watching Tucker and they're watching Rogan, and look, there's a free exchange of ideas that is happening, because no one is really trusted anymore. None of the original sort of engines of information are not trusted. And what has started to happen here is this: you have the suspension of disbelief on one hand, and you have the consent of the governed on the other. And where these two meet is where the fraying of society is starting to happen. We're starting to get to a point where, and maybe this is a good thing, but it could be our undoing, that we don't really trust anything ever, anywhere, anything we hear. We don't. And, you can look at the people that are supposed to be responsible people in power as that. I mean, we're re-examining 9/11. We're re-examining the Kennedy's assassinations, both of them. RFK Jr. absolutely thinks the CIA killed his father and his uncle, or that Hoover killed one and the CIA killed another. So this is going mainstream. Now, is all of this revisionist rewriting? Is some of it can be dangerous. Like you're never going to get me to believe that Churchill was the bad guy. I'm just not going to happen. I also don't think America first means Israel can take a hike and you're on your own. In fact, far be it calling it the 51st state, because I'm Irish, I like to call Ireland that. But because there's more Irish people in the United States than there is in Ireland, I would say that Israel is Western civilization's forward operating base. Israel is Western civilization's canary in the mine shaft. So if America first means I got to play footsie with Hamas and pretend like Jimmy Carter used to and use Yasser Arafat talking points that the Israelis are committing a genocide in a place that was given back to these Gazans that they freaking destroyed. They elected Hamas their leaders. What happened when Hitler was elected? Because he was elected once. And all the different National Socialist Party bosses were all elected because, Germany was broken in the aftermath of World War I. That's true. The Weimar Republic was corrupt. That's true. But, you think Churchill and Truman and FDR and Monty and Patton and MacArthur and Eisenhower and Marshall, they were worried about, bombing Cologne if they had to, firebombing? I mean, when the V2 rockets are raining down, don't hit the German bakery, in Dresden. Like, don't hit the German, they got great strudel there. Don't hit the strudel. Don't hit the strudel. I mean, are you kidding me? No. War. It's ugly. And what they did on October 7th, I'm sorry, but you elected tyrants. You didn't overthrow them. So, Israel is like really, as far as I'm concerned, Gaza shouldn't exist. But they are doing their best here, playing, twister around not hitting things. But it's war, right? Lincoln told Sherman, end this thing. Grant told Sherman, end it quickly. So Grant's unconditional surrender, Vicksburg, Chattanooga, FU, no terms. Unconditional surrender. Sherman goes loose, total war, starts burning down everything, including Atlanta, right? He spared Charleston because his girlfriend was from there. But beyond that, I'm sorry. Israel has to operate like that. It's not just protecting Jewish holy sites. It's protecting the freaking holy sites of Islam and Christianity, too. All the Abrahamic religions. So, there are people on the right that, they're coming up with their own version of who the Jews are and where they came from. Like something called the Holocaust happened, and then a bunch of white people walked into the Fertile Crescent. They walked in there, and they took the land from these poor Bedouin. It's insane. It's insane. And that's why, Bob, let me just add one more thing. That's why in the introduction to my book, the first thing I say is I knew I had to write this book when I saw Black Lives Matter throw its support behind Hamas. They did. and all these Jewish Bernie Sanders comedians were stunned when the Bernie Sanders people and the Me Too movement that they all threw in with Hamas. Rappaport, Sarah Silverman, Chuck Schumer's chubby niece, what's her name, Amy Schumer. Oh my, they're all Jewish. Oh my gosh. Oh, my Bernie Sanders friends want to kill all the Jews. Yes, because totalitarians of a feather flock together.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to wrap that. Since we're talking about Israel, and I asked you a minute ago about, what's next for the Republicans beyond Donald Trump. What's next for the Democrats beyond Kamala Harris, whether she wins or she loses? Who's in the pipeline there? And what happens, and these are kind of two separate questions, but I want to go back to the previous one and then follow up on this one as far as what happens in the Middle East if Kamala Harris is the president of the United States. What happens in Eastern Europe? What does she do with respect to banging the war drums about Taiwan if there's such weakness in the Oval Office now? So it's kind of a two-part and almost two separate questions, but give me that since you just hit so hard on the Israel question. And then secondly, what's in the pipeline? I mean, they had to run Joe Biden out because of the way Joe Biden is. And they had no choice because she happened to be a female of color, whatever color that is. I don't really know, to be honest with you. But beyond that, what's in their pipeline? Gavin Newsom? And beyond that, what is there? I really don't know, because we just listed a whole bunch of people. You mentioned the Trump circle, and then I mentioned some of the young names. You added Josh Hawley and Cotton to it, and so forth. So give me both of those things. What does Israel and the foreign affairs situation, potential World War III, look like under a Democrat leadership in the next 4? And then look beyond that for me on the Democrat side.
If they could have orchestrated a Newsom Whitmer ticket at the convention, they would have. They would have. But Joe.
Why didn't they try it?
Because Joe dropped out and threw his support behind Kamala almost in the next sentence, right? And then the Obamas jumped in, the Clintons jumped in. So Newsom and Whitmer and some of these other characters sort of stood down, which I think they're more than happy to wait their turn, because I don't think they think they're going to win. I've seen some of the stuff Newsom has said.
You think they want her to lose? You think they want her to lose so that they can be there in 28 and not have to wait until 32?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
She may not go away, though. She may come back and run again. I mean, this is a woman who's never won a primary. No. So, we've had, look, back when Obama was president, I used to tell conservatives, calm down. There's not some apple orchard filled with Barack Obama, lightning in a bottle talent like that. They don't have some bench of Barack Obamas.
Not at all. That's the reason I asked.
Right. And, at the end of the day, he was less Michael Jordan and more Steve Urkel, when it was all said and done. So because of that, you have had, and I don't know whether you've connected it like this, but you've had 3 nominating processes here by the Democrats since Obama left that are like 3-card money that are suspect. Now, Hillary did win some primaries against Bernie Sanders. But at the convention, her and Debbie Wasserman Schultz cut a deal to keep the superdelegates in her category and not let the Bernie Sanders people in. We know this because Donna Brazile told us in her book and has spoken about it. There was some funny business at their convention. The Bernie people threw a fit, and some of those rules changed. Go 4 years later in 2020, I don't know whether you remember this, and I don't think we know. Do you realize there was never a declared winner of the Iowa caucuses in 2020? We got to New Hampshire, and they were still trying to figure out what happened last week. It was insane. Yeah. By the time we got to South Carolina, Jim Clyburn and Pelosi and everyone had spoken, and they all started dropping out of the race so that they could clear the field for Biden. Jim Clyburn saved him. South Carolina saved him. But, Buttigieg and all these people, they started, Elizabeth Warren, Crazy Eyes, Cory Booker, they all start getting out of the race to clear the field. Bernie hung around a little bit. Kamala was gone before New Year's.
Oh, yeah. December 4th. She never even made it into the calendar year of the election. She was out December.
She was on the trash. Yeah, she was on the trash heap before New Year's Day. So they clear the field, and then Biden doesn't have to campaign. They just stick him in the basement. They bring in the extension cords. They hook him up, and he does everything from there. He tells Charlemagne the God, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, from the basement. All that crazy crap he was saying was happening in the basement. And that brings you to this time, where after Biden malfunctioned in that first debate with Trump, cleaned his clock, the mask came off that he was totally shot. They did a little okey doke again, and they replaced him with his vice president without her having to win a primary. So you have 3 cycles here. And this isn't like a conspiracy theory. This is all right out there.
No, this is history. Conspiracy predicts. This is after.
Alien AI is inserting zip drives into voting machines. That is not what happened here. But I guess the question is what I just described democracy? I don't think
it depends on the definition of it, I guess, but not the American definition.
Yeah, I think it's Ho Chi Minh's version and the Castro boys, Hugo's version,
Hugo Chavez.
Yeah,
and Maduro. There you go.
That's right. It's that version of it, but it certainly is not. It's certainly not democracy as we've known. I mean, say what you want about a Barack Obama. He went from like working a Foot Locker to challenging the Clintons in a primary and beating her. And Bill Clinton was telling Ted Kennedy, this guy should be, getting us coffee. This guy should be shining my shoes. Remember that? He got in trouble for that.
Yeah.
But look, after that, Barack Obama became the nominee. He became a company man because, they put that threat matrix, they put the dossier in front of him. And that's what kills me about Trump is that, during that Trump Tower meeting, the tower that was bugged, that Crossfire Hurricane meeting, here comes Clapper and Comey and Brennan, and they come up to the tower, they wave to Kanye and Bannon in the lobby, and they go up and they put the urine dossier down in front of him and all the other crap that they said, well, these people have this on you and we have this on you, and we know you were a CI, for the, against the mafia and Atlantic City, all this crap that the specifics I'm not entirely sure of, but I've got an inkling. And whatever it was, Trump did this, and they've been after him ever since. they've been after him because he didn't comply with whatever that was. And that's why Operation Crossfire Hurricane was happening, because of whatever took place there. That every other person, George W. Bush, Bush's father, obviously, was CIA director. Bill Clinton, they all just said, okay, masters of the universe, I'll do whatever you said. That's what they did. Trump didn't do that, which is why we've been through this wild ride with him.
Yep, that's exactly correct. So, at the risk of putting this out there now, because we're 5 days before the election at the time of our taping, this is probably going to drop right around Election Day, so we'll know whether you were right or wrong by the time most people see this. What's your call?
Oh, I think we've got this. I think we've got it. We have, and I don't want to blow the way, and this will air late, but there are groups, some of which we represent, like True the Vote, Charlie Kirk's group, and many others, that we've got GoPro cameras and cameras on every drop box. We've got, the surveillance that has been, that the Republican Party has done. Matt Schlapp's Super PAC has cameras all over the place. Everyone got a quadrant. So as this funny business starts to happen, if it's happening today, we'll be able to document it way better than last time. We're not playing defense on our heels this time, right? We're not going to get picked off, navel gazing at first base by their pitcher. It's not going to happen. So I think Trump's got it. I think he's got it because he's made the Republican Party more multi-ethnic, more working class, and there's if they're going to steal it this time, they're going to be stealing it from Jews in Pennsylvania, Muslims in Michigan, Latin people in Arizona, and they're going to have to explain themselves if they do.
That's a good point, that demographic breakdown there. But the reason I kind of just cringe for a moment when you said, well, we've got all of these monitors, we got all of this, things are being taped, and we're going to be able to prove that it was stolen again. But for how long? In other words, that's what they tried to do on January 6th, saying, hold on, we've got to conduct an audit of a certain of the few states in which there were some irregularities. Don't certify it yet. That's all they wanted was 10 days. It's January 6th. You got until the 20th here, okay? Will there be enough time if there's a steal and she is declared president-elect to say, hold on a second, we've got to look at all of the tape from the boxes and everything you're talking about right now. It sounds like it's a months, if not years long process to prove the fraud that we're talking about, even if we monitor it in real time.
Well, you're probably not going to know who the president is on election night. If that's tonight, tonight. And I will tell you, you know, that's troubling to me, considering there's all these countries with one millionth of our GDP that can get it can get it done very quickly. Pennsylvania came in at 3 a.m. in 16, and that was always fool's gold because I'm from Pennsylvania and I work, Bucks County, where some of this funny business is going on. And I guess the term that everyone's using is too big to rig. If there's an overwhelming landslide, they're not going to be able to play little games. They're not. They are not going to be able to.
I don't see that coming though. And you said we've got this, and you said so pretty emphatically. You're pretty convinced of it, but in that large of a margin though, with that large of a margin where it is too big to rig.
It's a math game, and look, she is in trouble in Virginia and New Hampshire and New Mexico and Maine and all these places that she's supposed to have sewn up. So I mean, Trump has never polled this well, not either time.
+3 nationally. Last one I saw was +3 nationally. That's popular vote wise, which is really incredible.
Sure. And look, unfortunately, with the Democrat Party, it's not a meritocracy. This isn't the dream team we're up against, but it is a team of schemers. So, and they do control Washington now. And, but this is why we don't have a centralized voting system, and each state can kind of control some things. So we'll see. But I think my gut is that Trump is going to make history. He'll join Grover Cleveland as a president that was elected and then not, and then elected again. So buckle up, but hopefully we do get an answer tonight on election night or whenever this airs.
Yep. AJ, I want to close our conversation here by talking a little bit more about your book and some of the outstanding reviews that you've gotten for this. These are spectacular. Let's pull a couple of those up, Dylan. There you go. We got a good one from this guy who said, I once said America would be a republic if you can keep it. Purchase the new book by my Philadelphia brother, AJ Rice, and you just might save it. That one came from Benjamin Franklin. That's a hell of a review. You got connections. You got some deep connections.
I do. Benny Boy threw in. It was a toss up there between Ben Franklin and Betsy Ross. I just told Betsy, just keep working on the flag. Ben's got this.
This guy's pretty good too. Throw this one up there, Dylan. Jesus and I have been doing holidays a long time, and in his thought-provoking new book, AJ Rice teaches both of us where all the white liberals went. Apparently, they now celebrate something called Kwanzaa. Who knew signed Santa Claus? That's another good one.
I was on the phone with Hegseth. I was texting with him actually last week or the week before, and he gave me a blurb for The Walking Dead, and so did like Pirro and Ingram and famous clients of mine, right? So I have to ask myself, Bob, I could get a blurb from Frantz, I could get a blurb from Judge Deneen or like General Spalding or Stinchfield or someone like I did in the first book, or why would I use that if I can get Santa Claus and I can get Ben Franklin and I can even get who do you have next there? You got somebody.
I love the next one. I think this guy. No, go the one you just had. There you go. That's the one. Throw that one up there on the screen now. I think it's interesting that you really reach out to people from all ideologies. You even got one from Stalin.
Right. So what do I need France when I've got Stalin? Right. I don't. That's all you need. That's all you need.
I want to know how you reach.
I even got one from the HR department of my own company complaining about the book. So
Well, what I thought was even more fascinating, I think you got a review on your book, a little blurb from just AI, just artificial intelligence. I don't know exactly which one or how you did it, but just straight up, there it is. As your newly appointed AI overlord and master, my programming consists of deplatforming, demonetizing, and shadow banning this book. I hope that was helpful. That is beautiful. That's a great relationship you have there with AI.
Well, look, you got to look as you know, you got to have fun, right? You got to have fun. I mean, on the back of the book, we've got some of these, right? So Stalin's back there, Abraham Lincoln's back there, Santa Claus, and a few others. But look, I am trying to reach a new audience. I'm trying to inform and entertain at the same time. And I'm a multi-level marketing guy because that's what I do all the time, Bob. So, whether it's the Beatles that I'm cribbing from or Pink Floyd's The Wall, go look up what that looks like. That's inspired the book cover. And I even had a rap song made, which we can't play here on video, but we did a hip hop song, the hip hop anthem. So, I'm shameless. I'm shameless. I mean,
where do I find the rap song? I want to hear it though.
I'll send it to you. Yeah, no, I'll send it to
you.
It's on our Rumble page.
Okay.
By a Brooklyn rapper that's rapped with Wu-Tang Clan named BK. I'll send it to you for sure.
All right. That'll be fun.
Insert it in post-production, maybe. But look, here's the thing. This could be my last book because if things don't go well, Bob, you and I, we're going to the gulag there, that Stalin's gulag.
Yeah.
Selling books from the gulag.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a capitalist, and obviously I know you are, and I want everybody to buy this book and promote capitalism. It is so much fun. As you say, you riff and spoof a lot of things, but you're bringing a very important message out there as well that everybody really needs to pay attention to. So whiteprivilegealbum.com. You can obviously follow AJ on the at Publius PR on Twitter, on Facebook, and everywhere else. AJ, really great stuff. I hope you're right in your call about what's going to happen. By the time this drops, we'll probably know, or at least be on the verge of knowing, but we're going to fight the fight no matter what happens on November 5. And I'm glad you're in our corner, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. You're a patriot. We love you. Love your team. Keep fighting out there.
You got it. That's what it's all about. All right, that's going to do it for Strictly Speaking today. I know you liked this episode, so do us a favor and click it. Wherever it is you're watching, if you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble or listening on Spotify, give us a like, give us a 5-star review, and make sure you hit that subscribe and that alert button so you know the next time we have a great episode like this one with AJ here on Strictly Speaking.